afternoon, everyone. We'll kick everything off. Welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar on Does Social Media Earn You New Patients? My name is Jason Wellman. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Member Solutions at Marketing for ACPs, and I couldn't be more happy than to be joined by these two fine gentlemen, Tyler Kemp, our Manager of Social Media at Marketing for ACPs, and Khaled Yaqub, our Director of Digital Advertising and Search Engine Optimization. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, Jay.
Before we dive into it, I think it's probably important that we maybe have a little bit of an icebreaker for you guys. With holidays around the corner, I'm dying to know, what is your favorite holiday movie?
Is there another one than Elf? Like, I think that's got to be everyone's top favorite, right?
I've watched it already this season. It's definitely a winner for sure. Khaled, what about you?
I would say the Lord of the Ring trilogy. It's not your typical Christmas movie, but that's what we go with.
You got plenty of downtime, get the kids relaxed, and just binge some movies, hey?
Yep.
I don't think I can ask that question without answering it myself. I have to go with National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. There's I don't know, too much situational comedy to probably be allowed in one movie, but that one kills me every time. Never gets old, that's for sure. For those who are joining us today, thank you very much. Please, we do have the opportunity for you to ask some questions. Please, if you have questions, to put them in the Q&A. What we will do is, we may not necessarily get to them throughout the live program, but what we will do is ensure that between Khaled and Tyler and myself, we'll be sure to get back to you and answer those questions as soon as possible after the recording is completed. Please stick to the end. We do have some free giveaways to announce for those who are participating with us today. But guys, let's dive right in. Kind of off the top, we mentioned why does social media earn me new patients? And our answer is, Tyler, I think you put it, it's a somewhat complicated no, because really it really comes back to the definition of and the expectation of what a business owner might be looking for out of their social media account and their efforts. So we really want to unpack that today by first focusing on what is the purpose of social media. I mean, it's over a decade old now and longer than that. And, a lot of business owners are told, I need this, but why? We want to unpack a little bit what makes a good versus great social media account, how we can reach and engage and make sure that we're really attracting the right audience, the people that are relevant to our business and the ones that we can probably support the most. And then also kind of talking about the two sides of the coin of social media. There's definitely an organic element. There's a paid advertising element. What's the perfect mix? How do we get there? When, why, and how? And that's why we brought Khaled on board. I mean, he's running the digital advertising and SEO efforts for the organization, has a lot to look in terms of the analytics and making sure that we have a strong, balanced strategy. So we want to ensure that we talk, about both sides of the social media picture, but let's dive right in. What's the purpose of social media? And realistically, when the three of us were sitting down to present this topic, unfortunately, we couldn't necessarily put our finger on it without using an analogy. And really, social media is very much like a barbecue. If you're invited to a barbecue from a friend or a colleague or an acquaintance, you have the opportunity to go and meet new people, and people who share the same social gathering, an extended social network, perhaps same similar interests and opportunities and maybe similar fields of work. But really, social media is your opportunity to go and attend a barbecue, and much like you would walk into a barbecue of extended network or potential friends, you can reach out your hand, introduce yourself to someone and understand, hey, what do you do? Tell me about you. And here's a little bit about myself. And, really the opportunity with social media is to attend the world's largest barbecue, if you will. And it's a way to go and engage. And realistically, when we think of that question, does social media earn me new patients? When you go to the barbecue, you have the opportunity to meet your new best friend. And you might not know it then, and it doesn't happen overnight, but you have the opportunity to meet and engage with people who are potentially similarly like yourselves. And realistically, the social media is no different. And Tyler, I'm going to put this over to you. Social media, from the purpose of it, from a brand perspective, how does that relate to a barbecue?
Yeah, we've used the word opportunity a few times already. And social media is the opportunity to tell people about yourself at the barbecue, if we're going back to that analogy. And it's the opportunity to make those new connections. If you don't go to the barbecue, there's no chance of making any new friends. If you're not on social media, you don't have that opportunity to reach new patients in the same way that a lot of your competitors already are. And it really does start with awareness. So when you walk into that barbecue and you're meeting new friends, you're meeting new people and trying to create that connection, you're going in there and telling them all the great stuff about you. You're going in there and you're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to create a new friend. You're trying to create these relationships. That's exactly what social media offers. It offers the opportunity to tell your story and tell the most important parts about you so that people are interested and new patients are potentially interested in coming and experiencing your services.
When we think of social media, there's two sides of the coin. You have the opportunity to participate in and advertise at. And for those who are joining us today who maybe aren't barbecue fans, I apologize if this analogy gets a little old on you, but realistically, you have the opportunity to attend a barbecue. As an individual, you can participate in social media as an individual or as a brand, but you can also advertise at the barbecue. And in the social media perspective, that's kind of like if you were going to the barbecue, but you decided to bring all the burgers. It gives you an opportunity, it gives you a little bit maybe more awareness and introduction to more people at the barbecue. You have maybe more of a reason to extend your hand, or maybe more people are having a reason to extend their hand to you and introduce themselves and say, hey, thanks for the burgers. There is that advertising opportunity at the barbecue. And one thing that is, I think, creates a little bit of mystery around and definitely influences our answer of the somewhat complicated no of this social media earning new patients is the reality that there's two worlds of social media. There's the organic side, which is the opportunity to go and participate and engage, but then there's this advertising element. And the best example or the best connection to make is to understand that social media platforms and businesses like Facebook and Instagram are very much businesses, and they're media companies, no different than a television network is a media company. The difference with social media is rather than you navigating to, television, ABC or CBS or global television, is you have the opportunity to create your own network. It is your own audience. It's your own following. But you also have the opportunity to serve the commercials, if that makes sense, on your own network as well. And that's the opportunity to engage and find like-minded, individuals like yourself, find individuals who identify with the things that are aligned with your business and your brand. But at the same time, you can actively place your brand in front of more people like that as well. And really what we want to unpack today is the opportunity that exists with having a balanced approach to both. I will pause and just make sure that, and to reference for everyone who's participating today, that there will be a recording of this that we will send to everyone who has participated today. So if you're feverishly making notes, you can give your hand a little bit of a rest because you will have the ability to come back to this later on. So if we look at the marketing funnel, we take a step away from social media first and start with social media as part of the marketing objective and the marketing opportunity for a business. Khaled, can you just break down from a marketing perspective really what the challenges of marketing are at their core?
Sure, Jason. Essentially, there are two major marketing challenges faced by every business. Number one is capturing demand. That's basically lead generation. And number two, it's creating demand, which is basically the brand development. And that's the key aspect of social media. And when we talk about creating or capturing demand, we need to go back to the basics. So if you examine your typical marketing funnel, the number of stages can be debated. But for simplicity, let's consider these 4 stages. You have the awareness, interest, decision, and then action. Every stage of the marketing funnel has a unique goal. The top of the funnel is all about introducing your brand to its target audience for the first time. On social media, this is called brand reach. Once someone moves down the funnel, so they're aware of your brand, now they're interested in building a relationship with you. Likes, comments, clicks, shares are all good examples of this in a social media context. The more engaged your audience with your brand and content, the more buzz will be generated and the more referrals will happen. So this translates to more shares, more likes, more clicks, and so on. The bottom of the funnel is the stage where your potential customers take the final step to becoming your actual customer. This is where the inquiry form will be filled out or an appointment booking is made. So as simple as that, go through the funnel and understand what goal needs to be addressed at what stage. Now this takes me to a question. What is better, organic or paid social? To answer that question, you need to know that our marketing approach to social media is less about organic social versus paid social. Instead, we focus on harnessing the power of both. Looking back at the funnel, to drive more activities or sales at the bottom of the funnel, you will need to increase activities at the top of the funnel. The wider net you cast, the more fish you're gonna catch. So it's very important to understand that organic social media focuses on top of the funnel activities. This includes brand awareness, customer service, and relationship building. Similarly, paid social focuses on activities that cover both the middle of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel. So reaching a larger audience, targeting ideal customers, and driving leads and conversions. By covering all the stages of the funnel, we focus on adding value rather than bombarding audiences with sales pitches in every post. This ensures that your fans and followers will stick around to see what's next, instead of thinking about your posts and ads as another sales pitch. So guess what happens on social media when audiences trust and interact with your brand? They lead their friends to you. The more friends they get to you means increased reach, increased engagements, and an increased probability of conversions.
When we look at the fundamental marketing challenges of every business that you've highlighted of capturing demand and creating demand, that capturing of demand is understanding what tactics and tools you need to put in place to reach those people who are in the market today for your services. Those people who are looking for an optometrist are in the market to buy, whether it be new frames or services. The creation of demand is building that relationship with the people who you want to do business with in the future. It's the customer of tomorrow. And if you joined us a couple of weeks ago with Kevin and Shyla talking about how to build your marketing strategy in an hour, Shy made a very big point about using the word customer. Yes, they are patients, but they're consumers, and those consumers have a choice. So it's the opportunity, if I'm hearing you correctly, to make sure that we have a solid, it's an opportunity and a strategy to build a relationship with the customer of tomorrow. And the goal of social media is to focus on the right customer of tomorrow. Is that fair?
That's right. So by having that balanced approach, we focus on the right audience and using the right tools the social media platforms provide to reach more audiences that engage with us. By doing so, we are increasing the number of qualified people who interact with the brand.
So the next step of this is to really, put Tyler back on the spot from an organic standpoint. Is how do we make sure that we're talking to the right people?
Yeah, so there are a ton of social media accounts already out there, and there are likely a lot of your competitors on social media. So how do you stand out? How is your account going to be different than the person down the street and the practice down the street? Well, it's determining your own voice and determining the voice and the persona of your audience. So first of all, developing your own voice. This is something that we do every time we onboard a new client into the social media program. We like to pose the question of, if your brand were a person, who would they be? And we can dive deeper into that. When they go to a networking event, how do they introduce themselves? What's their tone? Are they upbeat? Are they kind of more calm? What do they want to be perceived as? All of these are important questions to ask yourself and to ask about your business, because it's very important that everyone understands what your brand voice is so that it can be communicated clearly and consistently, no matter who in your practice ends up posting for you on a specific day. It's easily transferable, and it's a great way to be able to continue a consistent message and a consistent voice. So the next step from that, once you've developed how you want your voice to sound and what are the most important things for you, it's determining, is the person listening interested in what I have to say, and how do I engage them? So it's important to develop a client or a patient persona. And again, touching back to the webinar that Shai and Kevin did a couple of weeks ago, creating a actual person and getting it on paper and creating a patient persona is vital to understanding exactly how to properly communicate to them. You'll see here that there are a number of details about Joanne, our fictional patient. And these details aren't just for fun. You notice we gave an age range, 40 to 54. The reason that we do that is, if you consider the way that you would talk about a topic to a 15-year-old and the way that you would talk about a topic to a 65-year-old, it would be very different. They have different interests. They have different ways of wanting to be communicated to, and they find certain things engaging and certain things not. So determining exactly who you're talking to is really important about engaging that audience. The other details in here, such as where they live, their occupation, what they truly care about, that just helps to further analyze the content that you're creating and making sure that what you're giving to your patient or your audience is what they want to hear. We see here, this is Joanne. We see Joanne as a very active person, and she has an active family. If that is who we're planning to reach out to, we don't want to be posting lots of photos of people sitting on couches and watching TV. We want to be utilizing the social media channels to be posting about active families and to be posting about people in Joanne's age group that she can relate to. That's going to result in her engaging, and that's going to result in her paying more attention to your content and hopefully becoming a patient down the road when she needs your services.
Tyler, practice owners have a lot to share. And great businesses have a lot to brag about. They have a lot that they can tell and inform people of, from the services they provide, to the products they carry, to the experience they deliver, to their focus in certain areas of maybe medical specialization or medical focus. There's a lot to share. What you've identified here first is we need to make sure we understand who we are and what we stand for, but then also, who are we trying to attract to our organization? Who are we trying to build a relationship with? And making sure that you're connecting that bridge or that connection to the elements of your business that Joanne identifies with, the pieces that she connects with. Walk us through how you simplify the broad and deep story that a business could share to honing in on Joanne.
So we create content pillars, and what content pillars are is maybe it's the cheesy explanation of it, but it's the pillars that hold up your content. It's choosing the most important, I know, low-hanging fruit. It's the chance to take a look at what is most important to your business, what is going to be most important to your audience, and really honing in on that. Going back to the barbecue analogy, if you walk into a group of people and you tell them the 8 most important things about you, that is not going to be an impactful way to create a relationship. They're probably going to walk away going, wow, that person was all over the place. If you choose the top 2 or 3 things that are important about you, that's the opportunity for someone to say, hey, I relate to that, and start to create a relationship with you. That is the same concept on social media. So choosing the most important things that help define your voice and define your brand and make you unique, this is the opportunity to focus your content around these pillars. So ensuring that you stick to these pillars also stops you from going off base and off brand. If you are a much more tech focused practice, that is going to remain as one of your top content pillars. And then you might focus on a few things in the practice. But if reaching out to the fashion savvy audience isn't one of the most important things about your business, it should not be one of your main content pillars, because it doesn't represent your brand and create an accurate depiction of who you are, so that your client or your patient can begin to trust you and start to utilize your services. So that's the importance of why choosing a few key content pillars is better than just talking about everything that you could possibly tell them about your brand.
Yeah, I think that does a couple things. One, from a logistics standpoint, you mentioned earlier, you made a brief reference to there could be multiple people within the practice who are contributing to the social media program and the social media initiative from an organizational level. And the content pillars really help align and focus the direction to ensure that there's consistency of voice and consistency of message from a social media platform perspective and from a brand delivery perspective. The other part of that consistency is understanding that building a brand takes time. It's a long-term investment, and it's not something that is done overnight. It encompasses many parts of your business. But by focusing on a select or a focused direction of communication and information, it allows that consistency and that brand to be delivered over a long period of time as well. So not only does it make it easier for you to execute within your business, but it helps ensure that you have a well understood understanding of who you are as a brand and as a business to your community. Because again, you're building your brand, you're building that relationship for tomorrow.
It's also a great way to organize your content. Being able to take a look back at the pillars that you've set for yourself and look at the content that you've posted. If you're primarily focusing on one of the 3 content pillars, it's time to say, maybe I can vary my content here, and that might engage my audience even more. So I'm not showing them the same thing every day, but I'm consistently communicating the most important parts of my business and saying the same thing, but different. And communicating that message over and over in ways that just continue to engage your audience and bring in more of an audience.
I think one thing we can touch on later in today's webinar is also the scientific benefits that gives you from being able to analyze the performance of your organic social media and understand what's working and what's not working and what that means. By focusing your content on a few key areas, it allows you to be a little bit more tactful when you look at how can I improve this or how can I make changes. So once we've understood now who we're talking to and what we want to talk to them about, off the top, we mentioned that it's the world's largest barbecue. There's billions of users of social media. but for the most part, our practice is really serving a geographical area that's relatively local. So how do we now get the most out of that and position that content in front of the right people?
Yeah, so you have the opportunity on Instagram, like you said, over 1 billion users on Instagram. You have the opportunity to reach 100,000 individuals or 1,000 Joannes, if we can relate back to the ideal patient persona that we've created back there. There is the opportunity, utilizing hashtags, to reach that particular audience. So what a hashtag is it is the ability to add your content to a specific grouping of other content, photos, and videos on social media. So it's the opportunity to group it in the place where you believe that your audience is going to be looking for content and searching out content. If we create a hashtag, or if we utilize a hashtag that is very general, such as hashtag iCare. I just checked this earlier today, and hashtag iCare has 776,000 photos associated with it. It is very likely that that audience is not going to be filled entirely of Joannes and of your target audience. So what we want to do, and what we encourage everyone to do, is utilize geo hashtags. And what I mean by that is selecting hashtags that are specific to your location or specific to your audience in some way. We're in Calgary. So if I was looking for an optometrist, I would search hashtag Calgary iCare, recognizing that I might be someone in your audience. Utilizing that hashtag and putting your content into that grouping means that when I go looking for that, and when I'm using social media as a research tool, that's where I'm going to find it. Whereas if you utilize larger, more general hashtags, that content could be found by anyone all over the world, because anyone could be searching for hashtag iCare, whether you're in the States, in Canada, even in Europe. Whereas a very select group of people, your target audience, is going to be searching for hashtag your location and iCare or eyewear, something along the lines that has to relate to your business.
So if you were a very scholastic-driven student and perhaps a self-proclaimed nerd, a little bit like myself, the best way I can connect hashtags, it's the Dewey Decimal System of social media, in that you can now categorize where you want to place that content, because people who are engaging with photos on Instagram or posts on Instagram or on social media that are similar to yours, that's how the social media algorithm is going to say, well, if you liked that, you might like this, and have your content, reach that correct audience. It's going to categorize it in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about reaching. It's not about reaching the most people. It's about reaching the right people. And utilizing hashtags is actually very easy. You can do it in your first comment after your post. It doesn't have to be in your caption. Just another little tidbit of information there. The hashtags don't have to be utilized in your caption. They can actually go into your first comment, and that's going to group your photo into whatever hashtags you utilized. We do recommend using, or Instagram recommends using, about 9 to 12 hashtags. It's the best suited for the algorithm. So instead of using 30 hashtags and putting into as many groups as possible, it's choosing the right groups. And to effectively choose the right groups, it does take some research. It is taking a look at the actual hashtags, going through them and seeing what type of other content is available in that grouping. That's as easy as going onto your social media account and typing hashtag, whatever that hashtag is that you want to look for. And if you go in there and realize that the content that majorly takes up that grouping of photos and videos isn't related to you, or doesn't seem to be what your audience would be searching for, it's probably not the right hashtag to use. We utilize, in our department, we utilize a 250 rule, meaning any photos with less than 250, or any hashtags utilizing that have 250 or less photos or videos associated with it, likely aren't a often utilized or popular hashtag. So it's probably not where people are going to be searching very often. However, on the other side of that, 250,000 photos associated with a hashtag, there is so much content there, and the content will be filtered in so frequently that your photos and videos are likely to get lost very easily in that. And it's likely to get pushed down the page, because that's how it works. When the most recent photos utilizing those hashtags get pushed right to the top. And as more come in, they get pushed further and further down, unless you become one of the most popular photos associated with that. So finding that niche between the 250s and really doing your research into those hashtags and realizing, is this the right place that I want my content showing up and where I believe that my audience is going to be searching for my content? That's how to effectively utilize hashtags.
We strongly recommend having a very, strong and I guess active social media presence from an organic standpoint. And that especially bridges the gap when we start to talk about how to utilize advertising from a social media perspective as well. Because again, our strategy off, that Khaled, you brought into us was, let's fill the top of the funnel from a marketing perspective. Let's increase our awareness and our interest. And by reaching more at the top, we can definitely attract more at the bottom and convert more at the bottom, and see that, impact our business from a financial perspective of actually earning more patients. So at this point in time, we've identified who we are and who we're talking to. We've identified our content pillars as to what we want to make sure that we are building our brand and telling our story with, and using hashtags to place that in front of the right organic audience. So in the world of advertising, where do we go from here, Khaled?
So let's start off by explaining the difference between boosted posts and ads. So aren't they the same thing? Well, not really. In its simplest form, each tactic targets a specific stage of the marketing funnel. Boosting targets the interest and the decision stages of the marketing funnel, whereas the paid ads target awareness, interest, decision, and the action stages of the marketing funnel. So think of boosted post as an easy way to test the waters before you fully invest in a paid social campaign. However, it will lack the control that ads offer. Ads will allow you to get much more specific with your targeting. You can set objectives, include optional call to action buttons, and select advanced audience segments. With organic social, you post and wait for things to happen, but paid social guarantees that you will get seen.
So when I look at boosting posts, I am taking the audience that I've already earned from my organic efforts, and I'm ensuring that my posts and my content is seen more by those people who already like and follow me. With ads, I'm able to say, hey, here are the people who currently like me and are currently following my brand. I want to reach more people like them with a specific message, and with that, a specific call to action. Is that true?
That's right, Jason. And a very interesting fact that organic posts on Facebook only reach 2% of your followers. That's just organically. So supplementing it with either boosted efforts or paid ads goes a long way to increase that basic thing that we're looking after, the awareness stage.
And this kind of comes back to the fact that these platforms are media companies. And like you make the exchange of value when you watch television of, I am going to watch this program, and in exchange, I'm going to watch commercials. Is the same thing with social media, which is, I am going to engage with this content, and in exchange, you can now serve me advertising. It's a big proponent from that perspective of knowing that there isn't, every time you post organically, it's not going to your entire following. It's only going to a small percentage. That leads us to the frequency side, the consistency side of the organic social media efforts that Tyler, the strategies that you put together and recommend have to have a degree of consistency, because not every message is going to reach your audience. So you need to be there with a degree of consistency with the same message or a same story to ensure that that connection is made. Whereas when you look at the advertising, it's the opportunity to increase that audience size and increase that reach. When we look at utilizing ads effectively and now knowing where those ads influence the marketing funnel, Khaled, when we talk about organic and advertising, how do we put that all together?
So that's a very good question, Jason. To us, the foundation of an integrated social media strategy is to use organic social media to serve and delight your existing customers while attracting new eyes with paid ads. And this can be achieved by following 4 simple rules. Number 1, not all promotional posts need to be paid. Only pay for ads when they can actually help you hit your KPIs and ultimately reach your goals. Ads are not always the answer on social media. With that said, if your organic activity is not getting the reach or impressions you had hoped for, then it might be time to supplement it with a little bit of paid promotion. Rule number 2 is boost your best organic content. Your top performing posts aren't there to puff up your vanity metrics. Probably the easiest way to dip your toes into the pool of paid ads is to identify content that has really resonated with your audience and pay to show it to new eyes. This is generally considered an entry-level tactic because it's low risk, and you don't need to come up with any ads, let alone develop an entire ad campaign. Rule number 3, have your ads target audiences similar to your organic audience. The more you grow your social presence organically, the more data you have about your ideal audience. Where do they live? How old are they? What are they interested in? What problems are they facing? And how are you helping them? Capitalize on all this information as you build your ads. And number 4, which I think is the most important rule, look at your data and measure your results. By paying attention to your social media data, you can tell where you need to make some changes to get better results. If you're running an organic or paid social campaign at the same time, you will want to make sure you measure apples against apples and oranges against oranges. Use data to understand the performance of your content pillars, which pieces are generating more engagement, and which pieces require some tweaking.
The opportunity with digital marketing in general is that transparency of data. It's the thing that we all in our organization we all claim to be nerds about, and there seems to be this competition to see which department is the nerdiest when it comes to understanding data and how to leverage it. And unfortunately, Khaled, with your department handling advertising and search engine optimization and diving into analytics, consistently, I think sometimes your department wins the most, and unfortunately, that's now on public record, and I'm probably going to have to bear the brunt of that when we go back to the team. But at the end of the day, data is important, and with that, we need the data to make decisions. It's data-based decision making. So let's dive into the data side of things, because we've talked about the organic side and the organic opportunity with social media. We're talking about, okay, how do you start to leverage this from an advertising perspective? Tyler, let's talk about the data that you pay attention to that informs you on whether or not the organic strategy that you're deploying is working. Like, what does working even mean?
Right. So when we discussed content pillars a few slides back, those may be the most important parts of your business, but utilizing this data to see if those pillars are actually engaging your audience are essential to continuing to improve your organic social media presence. Social media is, you have to adapt. You have to be adaptable and analyze the data here. So in terms of awareness, right at the top of the funnel there, we have impressions and we have reach. Reach is the amount of unique users who actually see your content. Impressions is the amount of feeds that your content actually made it to. So if, tying it back to hashtags, if we're utilizing a hashtag that is providing your content to too many people, we are going to see impressions skyrocket. And unfortunately, that's going to mean a dip in engagement rate. So engagement rate is comparing the awareness part to the interest part. So everything listed under interest there are the engagements that you can get on social media. So likes, comments, shares, saves, follows. All of those are important for showing whether you are actually reaching your audience and engaging them. So what we want to see is we want to see a reasonable amount of impressions, and those impressions reaching the right audience with proper hashtags and proper research as to how to reach your audience. And then we want to see that content you're creating be interesting to that audience, earning you all of those engagements. There isn't one engagement that's way better than the other. And I do want to point out that there's a lot of misconception that a massive increase in followers is how to determine whether you are succeeding at a organic social media account, or how many likes you have, or how many comments. It truly depends on your audience. If you are getting a ton of saves of your content, if your audience is saying that, wow, I love the information that you're providing, I do not want to forget it, and they're saving your content, that's not going to show up to your audience as much. Your audience is going to see likes, but you're going to see the saves. And that's an indication to you that whatever content you're providing to that audience is so valuable to them that they want to hold on to that. So all of that are metrics that we take a look at, and you can start to determine which pillar you're using is bringing in the most engagement. So you can see if education is one of your pillars, you want to make sure you give a lot of educational content. But education isn't bringing in very many likes, comments, or saves. It might be an indication to you that your audience is more interested in the family-friendly content and really focusing on what makes you a great place to, as a community, to bring your family and to bring your friends. So you can really utilize that data to help shape and adjust to what your audience is telling you they like or not.
So by having too broad of a spectrum in terms of the hashtags you use, your example was hashtag #ICare, you're going to see a ton of impressions and a ton of reach. But it's safe to say you might also see a low level amount of engagement. And even if you do see some engagement and some interest, the reality is that engagement and interest may not necessarily be coming from Joanne's in your area that you're trying to serve and support. And so exactly, by focusing on the less is more approach from an impression standpoint and really putting your eyes on the next level down in the marketing funnel, which is that engagement piece, you're really starting to see how your organic content is landing with your audience.
Exactly.
I think a safe or a point to call out with impressions is actually the universal metric for marketing and advertising. Because regardless of what medium you choose to use, impressions are always there. In some cases, they're harder to measure, but they're always there. If you run an ad in a local community paper, that paper has a distribution network. That distribution network has a reading, has a group of readers. And you are able to serve your ad to that audience. You're able to deliver an impression. No different than if you were to take a sign and put it on the boulevard in front of your practice. There are people who are driving by and walking by and cycling by, and you're able to serve that boulevard sign, and it's gonna hit an impression on the people who see it. So whether it's a boulevard sign, it's a newspaper ad, it's a TV commercial, it's a radio commercial, it's a social media post, the impression is actually a universal measure. The advantage on the digital side is you get to understand and know what those impressions are on a real-time basis. But I think you made a very good point in terms of qualifying what impressions make sense. Callie, you talked about vanity metrics, and a vanity metric is having the most reach possible or the most impressions possible. But if you can't see that translate into further steps and engagement and actions deeper in the funnel, then perhaps, although those are the things that make you feel good, but aren't actually going to make the impact on your business. Because again, though we're saying social media doesn't earn you new patients, what it does is it contributes to your marketing funnel. And as a part of a system, your system and your marketing strategy should deliver you new patients, is designed to deliver you new patients and attract new customers. When we think, take a break from and flip over from the organic side to the digital advertising side or the social media advertising side, let's talk about the boosted posts, because for anyone who's attending today, you mentioned that's kind of the first low-hanging fruits, first step that you can take from an advertising perspective. What are you paying attention to in terms of metrics and data from a boosted post perspective, Calvin?
So as you can see, the metrics we keep track of is very similar to the organic post section, especially on the interest stage. We don't focus on impressions on the boosted because, as we mentioned, it's a vanity metric. I like what Tyler specifically focused on is measuring the impact your content pillar has on your engagement levels. And that's what we are focusing on in the boosted post measurables. And remember that your organic reach, just without any ad money, only reaches 2% of your followers. So that alone is a good indication that using boosted posts will help you expand that reach by a lot. When you expand that reach, yes, you will get increased impressions. But again, we are focusing on the quality of those impressions, because with quality comes qualified audiences that interact with you. Naturally, when Tyler and I sit down and discuss what posts to boost, we don't look at the highest impressions that a specific post has. We focus on, again, maximizing the impact the content pillar has. So this goes into focusing on the engagement metrics. So the likes, comments, shares, saves, and follows. To us, it's just not numbers only. It tells us another story that with likes, comments, shares, we'll get increased link clicks, increased click-through rates, and then increased through plays if you have videos and whatnot. So by looking at these metrics together, not only can we determine which posts to boost, but we can establish a before and after snapshot of your organic post activities to verify that you are growing your brand and bringing in qualified traffic. All doors to practice leads to the website, right? Basically, everything at the end of the day will funnel down to your website. And this is where we can measure the macro activities that eventually leads to conversions. When you think about it, at the end of the day, looking back at the marketing funnel, it is very important to understand that we cannot generate more awareness when we focus on generating leads. But we can generate more leads when we focus on creating more awareness.
By systematically and very tactfully using data to increase the amount of awareness and fill the top of the funnel, as you said, make that top of that funnel wider, we can make a deeper connection and be more relevant to those individuals when they're ready to take that buying decision, when they are in the market for your service. And those are the ones that lead to making that decision, which, like you said, tends to lead to that click and that deeper engagement with the business and the practice, most times for us, seen through traffic to the website and conversion into patients from the website. So I guess to bring this all back to the barbecue analogy, everything that you guys have taught me today is, if you were to walk into a barbecue and you reach out and meet someone for the first time and introduce yourself, you're probably not going to ask them to help you move that weekend. Because asking someone to move is the deepest conversion of friendship. You aren't a good friend until you're lifting someone's Chesterfield. And it takes a little bit of time to earn that opportunity. And social media is probably the same way for your business. Fair enough? Guys, thank you for your time today. Thank you for breaking that down. For those who are joining us today, please, if you have any questions here, you can ask them in the Q&A section of the webinar. We will be sure to reach out and answer any of those questions for you. If you do want to have a deeper connection and maybe pick Tyler's brain or Khaled's brain a little bit, you can definitely send me an email here on the screen, because we can answer any questions that you might have. If you're sitting here today and you're thinking, okay, 2020 is around the corner, I got some time maybe around the holidays that I want to focus on a few things. The intricacies of digital advertising and marketing, and especially social media, can be a little heavy, especially for a 50 to 60 minute webinar. If you would like, anyone who is attended here today, we are offering a complimentary website and social media audit. That's an opportunity to sit down with a member of our team and just look at the data that exists and understand your business a little bit, and look at the data that exists to help make some recommendations on where opportunities would be to maximize your efforts. Also, our president and co-founder, Kevin Wilhelm, published a book this year. Out of everything that 2020 was, he did publish a book. He had the opportunity to publish Click, the opportunity to transform your business through digital marketing. We can offer anyone and everyone who has attended today a complimentary copy of Click. We will put it in the mail by the end of the week. If you're interested in a copy, please, you can also send me an email, jason@4acps.com. The last piece is the new year is around the corner, and 2020 has been one heck of a year for everyone involved. But one thing is true, is with the new year, I think comes a new consumer as we head into 2021. So if you'd like, please join us on January 20th. Look for the invitation. It will come to your inbox as a follow-up to everyone who has registered and attended the webinar today. It's not just a new year, it's a new year after a year that has changed everything we know, including the eye care consumer. We're going to dive in with our creative director and a few members of our marketing team and share their research and understanding of what has shifted with the eye care consumer headed into 2021. Thank you again for your time today. I wish you nothing but the best holiday season. And gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time and thank you for your knowledge.